This podcast is part of the No Phony Podcast Network, the home of independent awesomeness.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of On the Road with Jim and Casey. With us today is local yoga expert Katie Shemanski. How you doing tonight, Katie?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Good. So, how you holding up during the quarantine?
Pretty good. A little laggy. I've just been practicing, I actually just went back to work on Monday, so I'm adjusting to that.
They open the liquor stores back up?
It's only available for online ordering, which we decided to jump in and help, being a big store. There's only 6 of us working, so we're keeping our distance and all of that.
Sure. Has it been crazy since you've opened back up with online orders?
It's definitely a little insane. I think the site's so overloaded with orders that they're only limiting the amount of people that are on a day. So it's kind of hectic.
Yeah. So, what made you get into yoga? What made you decide to start doing yoga?
Well, I needed something to relax my mind because I was suffering from migraines for a long time, and I was looking at more of a holistic approach. So I started practicing on my own, and I found a local studio, which happened to also be a teacher training center. And they were like, you should really start teaching, because I guess it was just my calling. And I became really, really passionate about the yoga community.
So you started to take classes now to teach yoga?
Yes, I started my classes in January. It's a 200-hour yoga teacher training, and it's 12 months long.
How many different types of yoga are there?
Oh, there's a bunch of different types. My main focus is Ashtanga, Hatha, which is what the hot classes are. That's my main practice, and I've been teaching Yin class.
So the school does it go through all the different types of yoga, or does it stick with basically the one type or the couple types that you want to learn?
We do go through all the different types. I'm only 3 months into it right now, but they offer a bunch of different classes, so I've been able to at least get a little bit of experience on that.
Ashtanga, that's my favorite.
I love Ashtanga.
You sit there. Go ahead.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, you sit. All you do is you sit there, and right? That's Ashtanga. That's when you. No, I'm sorry. It's that Shavasana. You know what? No,
yeah, that's Savasana. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Ashtanga is actually like the hardest practice. That's why I'm like, oh my goodness, that's.
No, that one is. I used to, when I was in Austin, I went to this place a few times called Core Power, and it's a heated. That's right. Yes, we ended with Shavasana. That's right. Hey, it's hard. It's very hard, and it's not for the faint of heart.
No, that's for sure. I think my class ends with a headstand, and then we go into the Savasana.
Okay.
So you said you started yoga, Katie, to help with your migraines?
Yes.
And how do you feel that has it helped with has it reduced the migraines?
I definitely don't have them as much as I used to. I went off of all of my medications and just do yoga and meditate.
What type of meditation do you do?
I started doing guided meditations, and then I just slowly went into, I kind of just figured out what my own practice was. I've done like the Tibetan meditations where you kind of walk around and sit for like an hour. And that was kind of strange to me. I'm still kind of, I don't know, opening my mind to all the different types of meditation. But my favorite is just, I mean, 15 minutes of breathing. I like breath work a lot.
When you did the Tibetan one, now I knew a few people, and these are high level people. When you go, so I had a friend that went to Tibet, right? Got empowerments from these Buddhists. What's the word when you're very high level, like Reiki and meditation? It was like a Buddhist way of judging your power levels. And what they would do is to give you empowerments in these yogic techniques. They go like this. They blink at you, and they would blink at you these eye blasting. Somehow they blast you with their eye. They're blinking, and it would empower you. And they had it was something that's to raise your power level in that, to achieve rainbow body, as it's called, I assume in Buddhism. But what are your thoughts on that?
Sounds awesome.
Who blinks at you? So it's just like one guy in a room blinking at you? What are you talking about?
No, no. It's very, very. It's case. How dare you make fun of it? Okay, it's very, very respected art and ritual in Buddhism, in Tao Buddhists and stuff like that. They sit there like this, and they're blasting you in the face with these projectile blink waves. And apparently, you just sit there and you take it to your face, and you become more powerful. Like, at least, like, I think to get Reiki, to get like a certain master level, you have to be blinked at like a certain number of times. Like, any high level Buddhist would be able to back me up here. But so yoga, people that know where I come from, I love theology and belief and mysticism and spirituality and weird stuff. And I've read a lot on yoga and the ancient texts, and how it's like, how it means to yoke yourself, or to union, or to join yourself with the Brahma, the spiritual, the universal level of combining your forces together. And that's how it came out. But then in Eastern belief, but then here in America, we're just like, no, I want to have like a really toned butt, which, as we all know, having a toned glute, I'm saying like round too, because like, I don't know I mean, you probably know better than I do. Girls that do yoga have great form, good gait when they walk too, good gait, hand muscles, but they're very, I know I've met many women in yoga, and they're spiritual too. They're awesome. But so we use it for mainly physical stuff. But are you diving into yoga to, obviously you want your the migraines and the maybe anxiety to go away? Do you go down into the mystics of it to get that realm? Some say it might dabble a little weird stuff, but occultism. But like, do you want to like get to that level spiritually to help your migraines, or do you do it also like, if your body feels good, your mind feels good?
I do for, both reasons. My mom was really into it for the workout of it all.
Right.
But I went with a really open mind, and I'm still learning a lot about the background everything. But yeah, I definitely am in it for a spiritual reason. I mean, yoga is part of the path to enlightenment.
I mean, I think it all comes to, I mean, I agree for sure. It all comes together for everybody. Um, I mean, you've probably always heard God is in the silent when things are quiet. Because when things are quiet, what does your mind do? Your mind's just racing at 1,000,000 miles an hour, right? Some people, when they meditate, I mean, I've meditated a lot before, and like, I've talked to people about this where I'm like shaking. I'm like, my body's convulsing, not because I had a lot of coffee that day, but just because like you're meant for, you're so used to stimulation.
Yeah, I've gotten that a lot with breath work. When I first started doing breath work, I was just blown away by all the things that my body was doing that like I didn't quite understand. And now I'm just like waiting for that, and then your body just goes completely numb. Your mind goes to a totally different plane.
What's your
It's
go-to?
beautiful.
You wake up at, I don't know what time you wake up. What's your go-to breathwork movements throughout the day? Like, are you a 5 seconds in, 4 second hold, 5 second out, or is that what you do?
That's more like my morning thing, or like if I'm having an anxiety attack, I'll step aside and just take a few breaths with that 4 second inhale and then hold and then exhale for like 7 seconds.
Okay.
Uh,
How
but
many?
as
How
far as
many?
breath work goes, that's more so like once a week or so.
How many reps? Just so our listeners can follow along. I mean, anyone out there that has anxiety, I mean, breathing techniques help with so much of your spirit. So you do, let's just say, for example, you want to do 5 seconds in, hold for 4, 5 seconds out, which you don't have to. You can do 3 seconds in, hold for 4 or 3, and 3 seconds out too. You can do whatever, but we're doing 5, 4, 5. How many times do you do that before you allow your body to just go back to normal?
I try to do a minimum of 5 minutes at a time if I'm doing something like that, because it does take a few minutes for your body to like register exactly what you're doing.
It clears your thoughts. It makes you like, you're going to get your cup of coffee. Like, you wake up, you might feel, especially now we're in quarantine, you're going to feel, where am I doing in life? I mean, so many people are out of work now. You're going to feel lost. Like, where's humanity going? Are we just going to roll over and die and just get a boot stomped on our head and walked on by a virus? But to do the breathing techniques kind of opens up your mind to like infinite possibilities. That way you go out to get a cup of coffee over at Wawa, and you hold the door open for somebody that's wearing a mask and keeping 6 feet away from you, and they just look at you because they don't want to breathe on you to say thank you, so they just walk past you, and you're like, it feels great. It's just refreshing for your mind.
Exactly. It gives you that sense of calm first thing in the morning, and yeah.
Do
So
you know
how many times do you do that in a normal day? Or is it just once a day?
Probably about 3 times a day. And then I'll end with like a yoga nidra, which is essentially like a yogic sleep.
yogic sleep?
Yeah, you might like that one.
I love the relaxing meditation part of yoga. That's my favorite. I mean, like, I like to work out. Anybody knows me knows I just love the feeling of a big, big pump. A good bench press. Swole. You've probably heard swelfing at the mirrors when you have a pump on. You got to take pictures right away. You have a 30-minute window, or your pump is done. Have you, being a fairly spiritual person, have you ever noticed that when you're at well, back in the olden days, and when we were allowed to be around people in bars, have you noticed that when you're talking with people, that you're more open to conversation better than most people? Because when every spiritual person I've met at a bar, and I'm using this as an example because I'm a guy and I would meet girls out, every time they're into yoga and spiritualism, it's just like connection right away. And we're just like, all right, we're going to get deep here. And we're the people at the bar. Okay, so have we made out at the bar and things were happening that, this is a family show, we can't talk about? I mean, hands and all this like big biological things. I mean, nothing too R-rated, but have you noticed that like being in yoga and a spiritual practice, that it makes you connect with people on a metaphysical level better?
Absolutely. My friends right now are a lot different than the ones that I had before I started doing yoga. And even the ones that I did have before this, they're a lot more open to yoga in general.
Right.
But I think I can connect with people just because I have that sense of empathy.
When you're around, obviously. Oh wait, you haven't taught yet. Do you teach now, or you're still in training to teach?
I'm in training to be certified, but I teach maybe 2-3 times a month.
Okay.
I have a one-on-one with my instructor, and then they said that I should be teaching publicly by May, but with how things are going right now, I think I'll start online before I do that.
Right. Do they tell you how to talk too? Because I always felt like in yoga, you have to have an NPR voice, which was also to the conspiracy world, it was called Delphi training. But you talk soft, no, NPR. No, we're in NPR. We're talking so, and like it's puts you in this trance. You know what I mean? Do they train you how to do that, or do they just kind of say, hey, speak softly and slowly so they can meditate, not being too direct with your voice?
No, this is my natural voice. They didn't teach me to speak like this, but they did say that with the more fast-paced classes, you have to be more assertive. So they actually want you to be louder, which is kind of, I don't know. I think it's kind of funny. That's my hardest thing, is teaching the like hot classes and the Ashtanga kind of stuff, because it's like go, go, go. And I'm so used to calm, cool,
Right.
relaxed.
And now Bikram, that's like a more fast-paced, hot, sweating, less clothing, right?
Yeah, that's like the original Hot 26.
Okay.
They call it Bikram because I don't know if you've seen the documentary, but it's like a big ordeal. I don't like talking about him, but I do love the hot classes.
So so it was a stolen technique. Is that what I haven't gone all the way down that researching rabbit hole, but so it was a stolen practice.
Yeah, he stole the entire Hot 26 sequence from his guru and then brought it to the States and just monetized the entire thing. And the only way that you could get certified to teach it was to go through this guy, Bikram, who completely was unethical, and now we have a whole ethics test that we have to take and everything. But he got caught, so thankfully we can now freely practice our Hot 26 and incorporate it into other practices, which is great.
Wait, so John Bikram. Oh wait, what was his name?
His name was Bikram.
Okay. So Bikram basically took these classes in India, correct? Is that what? And then
he stole them from his guru.
So the guru had this method, and Bikram looked at his method and came to America and then said, if you don't do this method, you have to be certified in this method if you want to teach it to make money. Is that basically what he did? Okay.
Yeah, and he said the only way you can get certified is by taking his classes with him.
Okay.
And he was abusive. I mean, he was
Right.
verbally abusive, physically to people.
Okay. And so, but then luckily, because we're in America and it's a land of the free, we can do it for free. We don't need these certifications and licenses. Just like actually having a driver's license, you never needed that originally. You were just legally allowed to travel as a person going from places. A lot of people never heard of that, but that was a whole big ordeal. Like, what do we need a license for? You know, this whole thing. But it's very interesting.
You do need a license and a certification to teach yoga. She's doing
You do, but you don't have to go through this guy anymore. Your practice can now teach other people, which is awesome because I love my instructor so much.
And you go somewhere local around here?
Yeah, it's a place in Exeter called Tula Yoga Center.
And where are you going to school for this? Do they certify you there, or how do you go about doing that?
They're also a yoga school.
How long is a session of yoga?
About an hour long. The traditional Bikram practice is 90 minutes, which they still practice in some hot classes, but ours is cut down to an hour just because some people can't take the heat literally for a whole 90 minutes.
What is the hot yoga? What does that exactly mean?
You do the same traditional 26 postures. You start out with a pranayama breathing and then gradually go into do some standing poses, seated poses, and then you go into the laying down savasana.
Would you recommend people meeting at yoga classes to maybe possibly date someone, or actually a better question would be, what are your thoughts on the guy coming in there hitting on the instructor? Is that bad or something? Because there's a lot of good looking instructors.
I haven't actually seen any of that in my studios, but I mean, we're all human, so I'm not really opposed to it.
Don't give Jimbo the address.
Yeah.
Let's see. So for someone that wants to get started in yoga, but might be afraid to, well, right now no one can go out. I guess everything's closed, but when everything does open back up and someone that is might be afraid to go to a yoga studio or something, are there online things that they can do or check out first?
There's a ton of online resources. Actually, my center is offering Zoom classes every day. They're just about every day, I think, except Friday. They're free and they're available on their website. Tula Yoga. Can't remember the website, but if you look up Tula Yoga in Exeter, it'll pop up. They also have a Facebook page and they link it every day. There's also a bunch of free meditations and breath work.
I assume there's a bunch of different books that you can get also.
There's a ton of books. The Living Gita, there's the Path of the Yoga Sutras, which is probably the most important one. Even I just bought 4 or 5 new books during this quarantine to just keep practicing, I guess.
So it's almost something that you could never master. There was a move, I don't know what it's called, which is great because I mean, I don't personally believe in, I think you're always learning, you're always training. I'm not really one of those, that's a master. That's no offense to gurus or masters or anything. I mean, hey, no, I mean, maybe sometimes you got to call yourself for people to understand who it is in the class, but I'm more so always training. There's this technique that I've only seen 2 girls do that I knew after a long night. Well, but anyway, there's this technique that and I'm not sure if Casey remembers this, but I tried. It was a couple years ago. I might have talked about it on the podcast. You take your hands, put them behind your back, okay, and then kneel down and put your elbow in both of your legs. You basically look like your elbows become inverted forward, like this way.
Jesus Christ. Can you demonstrate? Can you pop up on your chair and demonstrate it for us?
Okay, so both arms are in between both hamstrings, like so. Okay, it's going to be like behind your neck and then back there. And then the other one's behind and in front. Have you ever heard of that? Please, your thoughts, Master.
I'm not sure I've ever seen that one, but I've seen a lot of, I guess I would call them like pretzel poses, to put it simply.
Yeah.
So
but I don't think I'll ever like master a few of them just because I know my body and that's just how it is.
I heard you say for the hot yoga that it's the same 25 positions as regular yoga. Are there more than those 25 positions? Or are people like still coming up with different positions and things, or?
The 26 postures is just for the hot classes. But there's so many different kinds of yoga. You could continuously come up with new poses for sure. I have an entire book just full of asanas, which is different poses.
What's your go-to? Well, I guess, what's the highest level? That's right. What's the, or in your workout or practice of your daily practice or however many times you do it? What's the highest level thing that you're doing? Like, let's say you're in the middle of the workout. This is your peak point to do something. What pose is the one that it's like the one you're going for, your, as we would say in the bro community, your max bench press. What's the hardest technique that you're going to do in your session for you?
For me personally, I would say the headstand for sure. I can't do the handstand quite yet because I've been so hesitant just to get to the handstand or the headstand. Just because personally with my migraines, I don't want to trigger one by doing some whack move. But
okay.
Yeah, the headstand is like, that works your entire core, your whole upper body. And you need a lot of strength to do something like that. For sure.
I can't do that.
You could try though.
Okay, so not anymore.
You got pretty good core strength.
I did at one point, but as we all know, abs are a young man's game. I mean, I'm trying to get just what you have, Casey. Honestly, Casey. Not a lot of people know this, but Casey has just brute strength. I mean, he could tear a buffalo in half. I saw him, before. I've seen what he can do. I'm saying breaking tree branches. This is a while ago, at an undisclosed location, years ago. And yeah, he's that's what I'm working on. Big power strength. But last thing before we let you go here. So what's your message to humanity? What do you want to put out there to everyone in quarantine? We don't know where we're going, but we can still do yoga, because yoga's probably the best thing you can do in your house, because the majority of people have no weights. We got nothing. We can do push-ups and body weight squats, and we can get creative with stuff. But yoga, you can do that anywhere. You have basically a 6x6 area. What's your final thoughts for humanity to listen to before we all go into end times scenario with COVID-19?
Well, definitely remember to have enough self-care, and don't be afraid to take any classes outside your comfort zone, because who's watching you inside your bedroom.
Right. I got you.
And yeah, it's just super important to hold space for you. And yeah, that's about it.
I have one last question. How do you feel about are you into or know anything about the Reiki or anything like that?
Yes, I was actually supposed to get certified last month, and then this entire thing happened, so that's on hold. But I am very interested in getting certified in that field because I just want to help people as much as I can.
Well, keep it up, and thanks for doing this tonight. And hang in there during the quarantine.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, guys.
You bet.